Everything has supported evolution. There's never been anything found to doubt it.
Opposite is true.
Oh, wow.
Opposite
oh,
is
absolutely.
Name one thing.
Everything?
On the road.
Everything?
I'll give you an example. Exonucleus activity, which is one thing, which is an error correction code for it, right? I can keep going. Maturing RNA processes, which actually shows that DNA is actually a dynamic protocol, which is gene splicing itself. So genes can actually look exactly the same, but yet have a different type of phenotypic response.
Information.
Yes, exactly.
You can find the same sequence of nucleotides in one DNA of one phylum of life and in another, and they can code for completely different information.
Exactly. Did you know that we have the same genetic material as we have with a rat and an octopus as for their genetic material for an eye? But the phenotypic response is completely different. But why don't we have eyes exactly like them? It's because of that. See, this is the thing.
So what are you saying? That you think that there's some sort of supernatural force?
Well, the evolutionist claims that this is evidence of evolution.
To express something different?
The evolutionist claims that similar exact sequences of information shared in one kind of life and another is evidence of common ancestry, of relatedness. However, that, as Viva has just pointed out to you, that's not true. We can find one sequence of DNA, one sequence of nucleotides in one kind of life can code for be exactly the same sequence in another kind of life, and yet it codes for completely different information. That's what Viva was just telling you.
Yeah,
so how is that evidence of ancestry? That's not evidence of ancestry.
Listen.
That's different information, just happens to be the same arrangement of nucleotides.
Hang on.
I don't
have answers.
Wait, let me finish.
No, you've already finished.
No, I haven't.
You just said the same thing
no,
over again.
I haven't. Calm down. I haven't finished. There's two different phylum of life that have the same arrangement of nucleotides in a given sequence.
Now. Let him answer.
And yet it codes for completely different information. That doesn't mean. Wait, calm down. That doesn't mean.
You're repeating yourself. Let him answer.
Wait a minute.
Come on.
No, you're not. You're trying to go at hyper speed. Calm down.
No,
that doesn't mean. That
you're
doesn't
repeating yourself, Neph.
JR, hold on. That doesn't mean that the sequence of information, the sequence of nucleotides is evidence that the one phylum of life is related to the other if it codes for different information. Now I'm done.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you want to go, Edward?
So after the fourth time of saying the same thing, I can go now. I'm no expert in genetics by a long shot. But I do know that most processes don't work with this. Don't rely on a single set of genes. There's more. Those simple phenotype tables that were taught in 7th grade are just a very basic analogy. So even though rats may have the same same sequence of genetic sequence for eyes that we do, they have a lot of other sequences that are different. And those would cause certain traits to be expressed differently. I mean, yes, they have some things that are similar. In some ways, their eyes are similar to our eyes, but in other ways, they're different. I mean, rats have poor vision.
So they're different.
Rats have very poor vision, and that's why they tend to stick towards sides and corners.
Okay, so that's evidence of evolution because they have different codes.
No, because they have different, and they have some different, and they have some the same.
Okay, so they have some different, some the same. That means what did Viva just tell you? He just explained to you that we can find the similar sequence of nucleotides in one kind of life and in another, and we know for a fact that scientific research that they code for different information. So how does your assumption that because the sequence of the nucleotides is the same, then that it's evidence of ancestry when it codes for different information? This is what Viva was telling you.
And I can give you guys other examples, like the SIR2 gene actually is known to actually give the SIR2 gene actually also can it's actually known to cause a certain type of it uses it to cause an anti-aging. And what happens is if there's a faster rate of metabolic rates, what happens is it causes a deterioration of that. And what we've seen is that there is a SIR1 gene and a SIR2, and that comes from the same genome itself, but yet they completely code. But they can't really tell us what the other genes do, but they're all from the same code itself.
Well,
so,
okay, well, what Jen Steinian's right? How is this a problem for evolution?
Because what happens is that the phylogenetic tree, which you guys have, is based off of induction, which Stephen Jay Gould has admitted in the first place. It is induction because what happens is therefore there is similarities. But that means there is an illusion of that. They completely have a different phenotypic response. Do you see what I'm saying?
There's more.
So that
right. So two different sequences of nucleotides may be exactly the same in two different phylum of life, and yet they code for different processes. That's what Viva's telling you. How is that
not a problem for evolution?
How is that problem?
That is a problem. With
it is. How is that evidence of
not
ancestry?
Even a little bit.
Common heredity.
I don't understand how that's a problem for evolution.
Chronic heredity. It has. Okay. Let me give you an example. Okay, this is actually on Talk Origins. Okay. Common heritage, right? That they have to basically. They have to inherit from their common ancestor, correct or incorrect, right? So what happens is the similar genetic material. So what happens, what we see is that there is a what they call it. It's called a. I keep forgetting the name of the word. I have to look it up. It starts with a U. I was looking it up, and so the ubiquitous. There you go. The ubiquitous, which is actually the word that biology uses. And therefore, if there's a ubiquitous type of thing, then it's inherited by common ancestry. So what we've shown you is that it's an illusion because of those ubiquitous proteins and those particular sequences, that it is so they can have different types of
Are you guys under the impression that because two organisms share a similar sequence or a similar line of genetic encoding, that therefore it ought to produce the exact same organism? Is that the essential idea you're putting up
forward?
No, I've never heard a creationist say that.
It won't.
Never heard that argument from.
I'm asking whether or not that is accurate to what you guys are saying.
No, creationists don't believe that. Exactly. You're not listening, I guess. We've been telling you that you can find the same sequence of nucleotides,
a genetic code, and that therefore they're different. That somehow is a problem.
No, I think you're extrapolating. I think it is the atheist, the evolutionist claim, rather, that we can find, because we can find two, in fact many, exact sequences of nucleotides in one phylum of life and another, this is evidence that they're related. When, in fact, what Viva pointed out initially, earlier, before I interjected, was that this is not evidence of ancestry because they are known now to code, in many cases, for completely different information. Let me give you a beautiful example. The human genome is known to be about 3 billion base pairs. The California purple sea urchin shares about 7,000 genes with a human being.
Oh, not this again.
Yes.
7,000 sequential genes with a human being. Now, that constitutes 27 to 29, 30% of the human genome. Does that mean that we are 27 to 29% California purple sea urchin? Are you structurally like a California purple sea urchin by 1/3?
Let me answer.
No. So where's the evidence of ancestry because of this extraordinary similarity?
Both eukaryotes. We're both bilateral. We both have bilateral symmetry.
But JR, are we 1/3 structurally like a California purple sea urchin?
You just admitted we were, Neph.
No, I didn't. Stop. We are not.
Wait, stop.
We are not.
Let me answer for a second.
Not only that, wait a minute.
Oh my God.
Not only that, not only are we not 1/3 like that, consider the chimpanzee example.
Yes.
Evolutionists consider, I'm not done.
Wait, you're jumping
Hold
off
on, calm
to a
down.
million
I'm
points
not
and
done.
Respond.
Yeah, this is what Neph always does.
I'm not done. I'm not done.
Neph, I wasn't done. I was in the middle of a response.
Hold on.
No.
Hold on.
Neph.
No, calm down.
Neph.
Now, so if we share 1,000, look, calm down.
Let me respond to your.
No, I haven't finished my question.
No, I was the one talking.
Look,
and you started in with
we're
another
out.
example
If you
before
can't
I
allow
was
me
even
to
able to
finish
finish
my
a simple
assertion, we're
response.
out. Okay, just calm down. Let me finish my assertion. You don't want to hear the evidence.
Yeah.
Hang on. Everybody,
Calm
hang
down.
on.
Let me finish
Everybody,
my
Neph,
assertion.
I'm going to give you 30 seconds.
Okay, here's it is. My
Neph, I'm
assertion.
going to give you 30 seconds.
Okay, here's it is. So evolutionists claim that humankind is related to chimp kind because of supposedly 98%. It's actually less, but let's say let's assume 97% genetic similarity. Firstly, did you know that this assumed similarity is based on the 3% of the human genome that codes for proteins, and it ignores the 97 other percent in genome? That's a fact. Okay, now, how is 3% of the human genome...
All right, Neph, let someone answer.
I'm not done.
Let someone answer, Neph.
No, I'm not done. You have to wait to the conclusion.
That was the conclusion. Let someone else answer.
Okay. Thank God. Okay, can I say one thing?
Wait a minute. Now, let me finish my conclusion.
Oh my God.
Neph, let someone else answer. You had your say.
No, let me finish.
You had your say.
Neph. Just let him go.
I can do this all night, dude.
So 97% of the human...
I can do this all night. You're going to let someone else finish. Thank you. Whit, go ahead. It was Whit's turn. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
God, this is horrible. I wish we could take this point by point, because what he said was that he admitted, right? He prefaced it all with the premise that we share 30% of our genetic code with, what was it, sea urchins? Is that not what he said?
California purple sea urchin.
Or whatever, an urchin, whatever, right?
27%.
He said we share. He's stating this as a fact. This is his premise, that we share 30% of genetic DNA, or genetic, of our, genetics with
genome.
an urchin, right? And then he immediately follows that up with the question, oh God, what did he say? See, now we're so past it. But what was his immediate question after that? It was something like...
You guys weren't even paying attention.
Yes, we were. It's just he just keeps rambling on and on and on and moves on to different things. It's hard to keep it all straight.
Go ahead.
I just wish I could remember the exact wording.
Okay.
It's so perfect.
He was talking about the dichotomy between the 90, he said, okay, let's just assume 97%.
Oh, no. Okay,
he was talking about that.
It's not about that. This first topic.
Okay, go ahead.
He said, so, because of that, are you saying...
Wait a minute. Are you going to let me finish my argument?
Oh, my God.
If you actually let someone else talk, then I'll let you
if
stay
you'll let
here.
me finish my argument.
You've been finished. I gave you 30
No, I didn't
seconds.
finish.
Yes, you did.
No, the atheists constantly try to shut a creationist out.
And you don't seem to know what wait your turn means.
There you go, man. Yeah.
18 seconds before they finish. Are you going to let me finish the argument?
If you let someone else actually talk, Neph, that's the point.
I will, but if you'll let me finish the argument.
You've been finished. That's the thing.
What
You've
are
been
you
finished.
scared of? Are you scared of the
We're
genetic
actually wanting
evidence?
to have a word in, Neph. You
You're
don't seem to grasp
filibustering,
that
Neph.
concept.
Shut up and let me discuss it.
You don't tell me to shut up. I can do this all night.
Corvette, I don't think this is going to work. I don't know.
I don't know. Because apparently some people think
He's
that they
not going to
have
back down.
This is just an emotional argument. This is pretty much what it's getting into.
Well, look, here's the problem.
That's all it is.
He's not going to back down, and if you do let him go on, it's going to go on forever. I really doubt that he's going to be able to keep things ever to a minimum so that we can actually respond to anything.
Well, I think he's been perfectly fair. However, there might be some certain exceptions, but yeah, or anything like that. Also, I can move in the conversation of homological structures. Did you know actually the whole thing about a wing and a fin. Now, they considered their homology because they have a similar structure, therefore they have a common ancestor. But see, this is an illusion and a misgiving and a cherry-picking of data. This is another thing that the evolutionists don't tell you.
Wait.
No, I haven't finished.
I don't think that word means
Okay, fine.
I've
finished.
Let me know when I can finish my argument.
I'll let you know, Neph.
I got a
Well,
stuck
I'm going to
video.
do it real soon here.
Can I speak, or I guys can't? I could. Okay, so I'm going to be done like in 15 seconds. Okay, what the problem is that they do not share the same function, and that's the problem. They don't share the same function at all.
Shut you off when you get to the edge, right? When you get to the
Exactly.
evidence. Quiet. Don't want to hear it.
Neph, are you just going to bitch right now? Because I really don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I am. But go ahead.
I don't want to hear it. Well, then why are you on the call?
Well, so why are you not listening to the conclusion? Why do you shut me off 15 seconds before I make the
Because you
conclusion?
continuously
Because you
ramble
don't
on
want
the
to hear
same
it.
thing.
Let me explain.
No, because you don't want to hear the conclusion.
No,
That's it.
yeah,
You're scared of the
Neph,
You're
Neph.
scared
Let me
crapless of
explain
the
this.
conclusion.
Nobody is
explain.
afraid of you, Neph.
That's
Let me
why.
explain.
No,
That's why
you
you
guys
won't
are
let
afraid-
me make the conclusion because you're scared of it.
How about
Okay,
this?
you don't
All right,
wanna
yeah,
hear it.
All right,
I
how
hear
about
you.
this? I will give you 15 seconds to make
No,
it.
that's not long enough. Give me
Oh,
a minute.
cool.
I've got to backtrack
Boo-hoo.
now that you shut me
Cry.
off.
Just
Look,
make your
we can do this on my terms or your terms. Your terms are shut the evidence off when it gets nasty because I can't answer for it, or we can do it on my terms where everybody has a chance to finish a statement.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
I debate all the time
Sure.
in Pal Talk, and everybody gets 3 full minutes.
Just give him a
And
minute.
you guys
Easy
would
for me.
never
What's a
survive
minute?
in a Pal Talk debate. Do you know that?
Yeah, you would
You
never
wouldn't.
survive because you wouldn't
That's
be able
right,
to
you
actually
wouldn't.
hold
Because you'd
the
be trying to
timeline that
silence
was
the
given.
evidence before it was concluded.
No, it's
I
that you're
needed-
talking over
No,
people. is
I
the
needed
problem.
15 seconds to finish
You've
my
already
evidence.
argued
You
away
won't
the
give it to
time
me.
that you would.
Right,
that
and
was
because I
asking
wasn't
for.
allotted it.
If you
Because
gave
I
Neph
wasn't-
the time,
because they hear it and
it would've been done by
they
now.
they see the evidence coming and they want to shut it off. That's what it is. They don't want to hear the conclusion because it argues against their
we
worldview.
don't want to hear the conclusion. Neph, can I
Right.
say something now?
I'll make it, or I'm gonna, or you guys have just completely failed. I
Listen,
don't shut
when you
you
go-
guys off in
Okay,
15
can I-
seconds before you conclude your evidence.
Okay, we get that. Now listen, the
Okay,
problem is,
To do so.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, wait, go ahead.
Please let me say something.
Can I finish my argument?
Let me say something.
If
Your
you said-
argument consists of a series of premises, and
See,
we
here
can,
it is.
listen.
Enough!
Oh my God.
For fuck's sake!
Right, you don't want to hear
Hey,
it.
hey,
No.
guys, keep it classy. Keep it classy.
Let me
guys.
just say one. Can I get one?
Yes, you
please?
can get one thing out
One
now. I'll make
sentence.
sure of that.
Let me just get one sentence. Okay. His argument, his argument consists of a series of premises, and each time he skips from one to the next, he prefaces it or does that transition with a question. And his question was, so therefore we are similar to sea urchins, and then he jumps on assuming the answer next, without taking each premise at a time, because obviously we don't agree with the premises. The logic may be perfectly valid, and I'm sure he can get to whatever possible conclusion he wants, posing questions and answering them for us. But if a real conversation, if we're really going to talk at all, we're going to have to take each of these premises, each of these points one by one. And actually, this is actually a second-tier point to the original point. It's just going to devolve into an endless series if we don't stick to one issue at a time. And that's all I was trying to do, is because he asked answer his question.
Yeah, if you're going to have a conversation or something, or try to prove something, don't build it on a straw man of what our answer might be. I'll add him back into the convo, and I'll let him finish what he has to say now.
Okay.
I was not going to answer.
Probably not, but oh well. Now you can
I
finish.
can't take your call now. Please leave a message after the tone. Thank you.
That was weird.
What the
I
fuck?
thought that was British.
Hey, guys,
What was
keep it
that?
classy here.
That was horrible.
Okay, it's just I've given you guys strong up demonstrations about how things have been misleading. Now, what happened? is the reason why this emotional pandemonium or paranoia is flying is because we already know, all of us know, if there is no evolution, what other viewpoints do you guys have left is not very many. And that's why people get very emotional with this stuff. And I don't blame you guys. I do. I completely understand. When I was an evolutionist at that time and I knew the evidence, I really came to that point where I did get very emotional, but it was not from logic. It was not from logic itself.
Viva, let's not get confused here. We're not upset because of any argument about evolution. We're upset because Neph is stonewalling and filibustering. It has nothing to do with the actual issue.
He's okay. Go ahead.
But no. Sorry, I'm saying don't try to sit there and say because of this is an emotionally charged argument, and I know what it's like to be an evolutionist and be emotionally frightened by these arguments. We're not. It has nothing to do with the argument at this point. I just can't stand Neph not just letting anybody respond. That's what I'm upset about. I'm not upset about a creationist argument. Okay.
He had more than enough time to make his plea, and at that point he was just repeating himself over and over and over again. I'm sorry. You can say it just once, and we'll get it. That's all I was saying.
Well, it's the problem, guys. If it's that he did bring up a good point, and nevertheless, yes, he's a bit long-winded. I don't disagree with that, but that doesn't illegitimize the particular viewpoints in which he holds.
Point. It's perfect. The point is perfect.
This is a cop-out.
And it would be a perfect segue. It would be a perfect segue to a real conversation about what it means and what that actual, even assuming that his facts are correct. The point is, they don't lead to the conclusion I think you guys do. And because there's so many steps, so many other factors that you're ignoring, I think, that you're jumping headfirst into this conclusion. And all I'm trying to do is say, wait, before you make that huge jump, let's stop, let's pause for a second and see if that even does what you think it does.
First,
and I have a response to the actual question. I mean, that's what I was trying to say to begin with, but go ahead. Corvette.
Yeah, if I'm more than welcome now, actually, to invite Neph back, because now that we've made this distinction, that we weren't going to argue with what he was saying. We were just going to go with one thing at a time. All right, it was just very long-winded. Not only long-winded, but he was jumping from point A to point B to point C to point D. Let's just talk about A.
It was all repetitive. He was just saying the same thing over and over. When we did let him finish the one time, he just ended up repeating the exact same thing he had already said 5 times.
So what? So what? That doesn't illegitimize the point. No, you guys are finding cop-outs. It's a personal assassination.
Not a cop-out.
Yes, it is. It's a personal assassination.
No. We were annoyed because he was repeating the same stuff over and over again, wasting time, not allowing us to respond. It's just annoying to have to listen to that.
Hang on, Viva, out this. Let me go ahead and get you something. Did you know that God is a lie? But wait, before you respond, let me just tell you that God is a lie. And the reason God is a lie is God's a lie. But wait, before you respond to that, let me finish. God is a lie. God is a lie because God is a lie. And I'm serious about this. God is a lie. And before I go on to the next point, let me just say, hang on, before you interrupt me. God is a lie. God, do you get where we're coming from? It's the same thing over and over again.
Corvette, I respect that. Then
God is a, wait.
Please stop.
I have something to add too. God is a lie, and also you have to know that God is a lie. Okay, now go on.
Okay, prove it. give me examples. I'd
love
to hear.
You don't deny that God is a lie, right? You don't deny he's a lie, right? But wait, okay, so because you don't deny that God is a lie, therefore God is a lie, and also, yeah. No, can I actually respond to the issue, though? I know we could go. I know this is patronizing it now, but let me say, the 30% of similar genetic codes, right? One of the inferences you guys say the evolutionist draws is that therefore we're related, right? And okay, go ahead. Sounded like you were about to say something.
No, I was like, I didn't catch that. Say that again. I'm sorry. I did not catch that.
Okay, you guys are starting with the premise that I believe that even evolutionists agree with. The fact that, well, there's several things I think they would agree with, which is why it's not a problem. The first of which is that we share a certain percentage of genetic code with other organisms.
Yeah.
And that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so therefore you're saying, oh, well, this fact alone doesn't show that we're related. Isn't that essentially the entire point of what you guys were saying?
Well, what we're trying to say, it's a matter of fact and an illusion.
Well, okay. There's so many other factors. We don't draw that inference simply on the fact that there's 30% DNA here, 70% here, and that's the percentage to which we're related.
Well, then
it's a misunderstanding.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I could give you at least one of the other factors, but go ahead.
Hang on. Let Viva go. Let Viva go.
Oh, okay. Guys, I don't have any problems you guys saying that God is a lie and God is a lie. I hear that all the time. If you guys want to do that by all means. But then I just be like, well, why do you have your reasons you say that? And Neph, all he's doing is giving me reasons, and that's perfectly fine. You can disagree, you can agree, whatever. Also, when you're doing that, when you're talking about recently, that it's showing that there is a cherry picking of data. Also, another thing too is that
exactly,
and this is going to be really, really hard to hear. Even evolutionist Francisco Ayala even admits that the neo-Darwinism complex is dead. And actually, there are certain types of mathematical drifts, genetic drifts, actually models have been shown that there is insurmountable odds that are attached to it, which violates the Occam's razor to begin with. Unless you guys can come up with some sort of fitness function or some sort of thing that can connect those dots. So it's kind of like you guys are the ones that they're taking the argument for ignorance. You need to address that first. And you know what? I wouldn't have a problem with evolutionary theism. But if you guys can show that, first of all, which is actually, I just hear nothing but pure denial on that fact. No, there's no problems. But I'm like, well, what about this? And there's a point, this is why I deny Christianity too, because sometimes certain churches... You haven't listed
a problem.
I have listed problems. For example, a fitness function. A fitness function is actually a problem because of what happens is you cannot tell me what type of subgenre of those particular species is going to speciate and in what type of model it will follow, which is considered to be a fitness function. So you cannot put a quantitative amount on that and where it's going to head in what direction. Matter of fact, modern science has shown.
You're saying that we're not able to make predictions based on certain models, or that we simply don't have models to make predictions for certain cases?
Well, from a future event, you don't have any predictive models in evolutionary timelines. However, the problem is there is prediction models already there. We already know. But see, what happens is that if I tell you what's the next step of evolution for humankind, you would say, I don't know, if you wanted to be honest. So that future is uncertain. But yet we do know genetic drifts with certainty. Like, for example, the common flu vaccine is actually known to come from swines that are from China, and they get it 2 years before. So this genetic drift models actually do have predictive measurements. So what happens is this whole idea of random mutation is, a matter of fact, just a big problem. It's a hindrance, unless you guys can provide further insight into it. You see what I'm saying? So there's kind of a dialogue.
I haven't heard specifically where the problem lies, other than the statement that, therefore, this is a problem. I don't see, because basically all you've said is that we have uncertainty in predictive models.
Yes.
Well, that's the point of a predictive model. That's why when someone tries to map population growth with a simple algebra equation, it just doesn't work. And one of my earlier videos was responding to someone who, among other things, tried to use an exponential growth model to show how it's impossible that humans could have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. You need more complex. You need higher maths to make real models of real world models of growth, like for something like that over such a long period of time. But there's still always some room for error because there's a certain level of unpredictable randomness. But that's just has absolutely nothing to. I don't know why that's a problem for any of for evolution. You haven't actually.
I feel like what's happening here, a lot of things are being thrown around really quickly assuming a lot of, ignoring a lot of factors and covering it all with a bunch of like buzzwords and jargon that makes it all sound like it's all legit. But none of the
drawing a conclusion from it.
None of the
you are drawing a conclusion from it, but you're just not connecting to the conclusion. You're just mentioning a lot of terms, a lot of words, a lot of things that sound vaguely intelligent, but without actually. And then you're saying your conclusion without actually. I still don't understand how that supports your conclusion. You're not making your point.
It's being very clear. It's because what it is that it's unclear to begin with. Like, for example, in order for science to be true, right, you have to have clear, definitive principles that are in place. It has to be concise, right? Like, certain relativity makes predictive models. However, evolution seems to be the exemption of that rule, which I don't like. I want it to be a part of that.
One of the obvious problems with predictive models in biology is because of the enormous amount of factors to be considered. And since evolution is basically an interaction with an organism's environment, and the fact that random mutations are random, those can't be predicted. As far as my understanding goes, I mean, that's what the idea of random mutation plays in this role. So, again, here's the problem, though, real quick. Last thing.
Okay.
The essential problem is I'm not sure you're coming from an understanding of evolution itself, because if you were legitimately criticizing an actual idea in evolutionary theory, you would start with that idea and then start citing these problems that hurt that idea. But what you've done is exactly the opposite. You're just stating these supposed problems and then saying they're a problem for evolution in general or genetics in general. What specifically are these problems for in evolutionary theory? I don't know if you could even tell us what part of evolutionary theory this is a problem for.
It would be more like this. I see it as this. I looked at the model that we haven't made an accurate model of everything. Well, we all know weather exists. You know, weathering happens all the time. It's raining one day and then it's sunny the next. And just like when a hurricane forms in the Gulf, we can make models that quote unquote track it to see where it will go so we can get prepared. But those models don't always work. Hurricane Francis was supposed to go up towards South Carolina. Bam! Hit my house. So, but just because the model itself doesn't work, that means the weathering itself doesn't work. Just because we haven't made a model of evolution that works doesn't mean that evolution itself is not actually working. We just haven't made a model that fits with yet.
That's called an argument from ignorance. That's an argument from ignorance. It's like saying we haven't found one, therefore, see what happens is that you guys are trying to say the creationist is doing it when you're in return doing the same thing. So the explanation is not there, so therefore it has to be evolution.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This is the use of jargon without any understanding of what that jargon means. That is not an argument from ignorance. We're not saying...
It is argument from ignorance.
No, an argument from ignorance is when you say, because I don't know, therefore X. We're not saying because certain model can't predict things to a precise degree on the level of genetics that therefore evolution is true. That's an argument from ignorance, and that's not anything what we're saying.
Okay. The paper that I was quoting was a virologist, Peter Palise, and it's in Futures in Biotech, and it's called Virus Reborn. If you guys ever want to look into it. He's a virologist. He believes in evolution. However, I disagree with it. But nevertheless, he still says that there's genetic drift models, and that's the one I am pointing to. There is predictive models. We don't need an uncertain science. I don't think it should be taught. You know what I mean? We should scrap it and find something else that better suits that explanation. If evolution wins, so be it. But it's just, I just don't like when people say it doesn't have a predictive model, so therefore we don't know. But so I can live with that. But relativity and physics in that realm is not allowed in that. But yet it's an exemption in there. And I'm asking, why is biology is unique in that sense,
where
it doesn't
make
have
predictions. No, evolution is not devoid of predictive capability. In fact, that's one of its greatest strengths. The problem of prediction that you were trying to point out is some kind of arbitrary, like, precise level of predicting the exact genetic code of an organism. No, I mean that's arbitrarily specific, and an insane amount of factors would have to be considered to know that. But it does, and it is very capable of accurately making predictions about certain findings and about in the past kind of predictions. You're talking about predictions. It seems to me you're talking about predictions in the future. Like, can we predict how swine flu is going to evolve in 5 years' time or something? Absurd. Yeah. But yeah, we can use predictive models going backwards as well.
I'm getting a call from, looks like this same call.
So what it is yes, you guys are saying that it has predictive models, but you do have predictive models, yes, from the past. For example, I don't disagree with that.
For example,
that's from an evolutionary.
For example, like in strata, you won't find a certain organism within a certain strata, or you will never find, X, Y, or Z,
Well, let me just make sure of something real quick. Fudd, are you with us? Can you hear us just fine?
All right.
I can hear you now. Yes, thank you very much.
All right, good. Continue. Oh, Strife. Hello.
Yeah, pretty much we left because it was...
I'm back.
Continue, guys.
You guys want to go, or...?
I mean, that was just an example. I'm kind of at a loss for more examples, but I guess the strata would be one example. You will never find a certain type of organism. Again, I'm no expert in this, but I know the general ideas. So.
I can give you a working problem that is definitely evolutionary in nature.
Okay.
You guys are familiar with Monsanto, right?
Not really. Can you explain?
Yeah.
Monsanto is a chemical company. They make an herbicide called Roundup, which is used for killing weeds in crops. Yeah. At the same time, they genetically engineer soy, corn, and some other wheat crops, I think, to be immune to the Roundup product. That is direct human intervention in the genome of these crops. And they patent this stuff. But I'm not going to talk about the politics of what they're doing. But there's something else that's been going on. Some of those weeds have, they somehow inherit, perhaps by cross-pollination with the crops, the immunity to the Roundup product. And so those particular immune weeds survive the spraying, and the next generation is all totally immune. And there's some 22-odd weeds now that are immune to Roundup. Now, you could have predicted, if you were paying attention, Monsanto was not. They were interested in selling their Roundup and their genetic crops, that, bugs, weeds would come up immune to their product. And now they're in this war, chemical warfare, quite literally, because Dow Chemical makes one of the ingredients of Agent Orange, which farmers are switching over to kill those weeds that are immune to the Roundup product. And that means, of course, the crops have to be genetically engineered to be immune to this Agent Orange ingredient. I forget what it's called. It's a chemical that's numbered. It's not got a real name. But the same thing is going to happen again, essentially. And I'm also predicting that with the monoculture of corn that we have in the United States, sooner or later, there's going to be a blight that is, sorry, Wittgenstein, I'll wrap up in just 10 seconds. Sooner or later, there's going to be a blight that likes the corn and is immune to the weed killers and wipes out our corn crop across North America.
It could happen to bananas too. I mean, pretty much every banana is a clone of it. Now they're all is just a clone. They've been so genetically they've been so specifically selected. So every time you eat a banana, you're basically eating the same banana again and again. It's kind of gross when you think about it.
But I wanted to address Bud Mutton and what he was saying. He was talking about chemical adaptations and saying that that's actually a proof of evolution. What we see is that it is not a random event, that it's matter of fact that there's certain things that are caused to it. Like, for example, most of the time, because I can't always talk about 100% of the time, but we see that the horizontal gene transfer is actually what's driving the mechanism for our plasmids or our transformational processes are responsible for antibiotic resistance. So we see that there is not a random mutation of the gaining of that inheritance. But see, and what happens is that it gains it because it needs it from its environment, which is actually showing, even if you show a random mutation, you still have to coincide because the environment and the cell in this genetic sequence is the necessity that it needed it for arise it. So thus it's gaining that awareness of that particular thing, and it actually makes, in an evolutionary point of view, even in a creationist point of view, that the genome itself is information. See, the problem comes down to is what mechanisms and what could you exactly nail that random mutation can gain that new meta information. And remember, selection process is actually it's not a creative force, it's a preservative force, which actually Charles Darwin actually plagiarized from this guy named I have to give up the guy's name. No, he got Lamarckian genetics, but the idea of natural selection was actually around before Darwin. There's actually a paper from that was from Blyth. It was Dr. Blyth.
Okay,
I can't remember exactly his first name.
Don't just insult the guy. Just go on with the point.
No, I'm not I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult you guys. I'm not.
No, you're not insulting him. I'm just saying, okay. What does that have to do with at all the idea?
Oh no, I'm reading what he's saying. But so in a sense, guys, is that the chemical adaptation is not it is not the evolution. The evolution has to show that there has to be this random mutation in the gaining of that new useful information, which actually, if you guys study about Joule-Szostak's equation, it actually gets into what's the necessity for a particular genome for it to gain that, and is it plausible enough? And that's basically where Francisco Ayala got that figure from 10 to the millionth power of odds of gaining new information from a bacteria to a man. And
wait,
guys,
Viva,
I'm good.
Viva.
What? Go ahead.
I looked up mutations could be caused by error in the DNA replication process.
Yes.
And how is that
yes.
exactly? It's random in a sense that the error could come out of anything. Like the error could be here, here, here. But if that error is persistent, then it's actually conserved.
Sometimes the different conservative processes are actually, there is some predictive measures in which they think.
Yeah, I know they're predictive, but mostly they're random in that sense that we don't know exactly what the outcome would be until we actually see the outcome. We can't predict the outcome beforehand.
Yeah, and that's where the theory of a junk or a non-functional coding regions or pseudogenes come from. However, see, you're making it a claim to uncertainty and saying therefore it's evolution, and that's why
I'm not making a claim to uncertainty. Okay. I'm claiming that the sort of random, you could say, because it's in the DNA's replication process, which isn't exactly perfect.
Actually, you're wrong. Because of the exonucleus activity, we've actually seen that that errors. Sure, I'll grant you that for the sake of argument. There's still them that creep in, but what happens is then that's a hindrance of that particular information. So if it needs to call that particular information. Because it is information. Because
it's genetic. It's a molecule. It's the molecule.
Actually, I proved it. If you see, in order for you to have adaptation in a particular organism, genetic sequence itself and what it needs to in order to compile that genetic sequence needs to get it from the environment. So there's a sender and there's a receiver for that genetic sequence. Thus, it makes the DNA in itself a dynamic model, also as information.
It's a dynamic molecule.
Even biology. It
right?
it is not. See, because you miss. I think when we have to study about what it means as information and studying the difference between patterns. Sorry, it's an equivocation fallacy to think that they're the both, but they're actually demonstrated to be different.
Wait, what's both? What do you think I'm saying?
I said there are some people that misassociate that there's patterns is considered to be, or the molecule is just a molecule.
I didn't say any of that.
It's not that. No, I'm just saying there are people. I didn't say you. I said there are people, and then I said, well, you say it's it's just a molecule. That's not the information, the molecule. It's the representation and what it's actually from sending and receiving in that particular thing.
But it's still a molecule. It's still an arrangement.
It's not a molecule
elements.
because it is adapting to a particular environmental trigger. So if there's
That's what the
an environmental trigger.
Yeah, but that's what the molecule can
do.
do.
Then what it is, then if it's a molecule that does it, then what is life in essence? Essence
Chemical
is
reactions.
adaptation.
Chemical reactions.
Actually, that's not completely true. There's actually, I have a great quote on about the evolutionist Harold Horowitz that basically talks about that even if you can create something with chemicals and chemical responses, that doesn't mean that the organism still is aware or even substantiated to have fuzzy logic in the begin with.
Oh, well, there's a distinction between something being alive and something being self-aware.
Because our cells...
So wait, so don't equivocate.
Yes, in a way, yes, they are. They are aware.
Well, hold on, let's
Are
take
they
it one
self-aware?
time.
How do they know their environment?
Yes.
But wait, are you talking about the cells or the molecules themselves?
No, I'm talking about the cells themselves.
But I thought the molecule is aware, you say.
No, I didn't say that. I'm
You
saying
say that the environment affects...
No, I'm saying because life depends on information. That's the point. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, what is
in order for it to be alive.
Well, what is this information speak of?
It is it's the environment itself. It's the environment that basically, like for example, if a bacteria is in a particular petri dish that has glucose, right? Then for example, if the glucose is considered to be depleted, then how would that cell know in order to switch to another metabolic trait unless the DNA has basically ordained that to have a trigger mechanism of that adaptation to begin with? Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, environmental pressures, isn't it?
Actually, and so what it is it's embedded into it. See, because there's a sender, which is the environment, and there's a receiver, which is the genetic sequence. What?
What about the ones that died, though? They didn't make it, so technically they didn't have the stuff to do it.
See, you're presupposing that there is or not. But a matter of fact, when we talk about origins of bacteria, you have to contend with horizontal gene transfer,
which
is basically a chicken and egg complex.
I'm saying all the bacteria that had to die to get it to work in an environment that's different than the previous. They had to die in order for this new one, which is a little bit different than the old one, to actually survive in an environment to, I don't know, synthesize, to use, silicon.
I don't think you really understand how genetics work if you're
but
basically
doesn't it
going
take multiple generations for an adaptation to become, if it works on glucose, runs out of glucose, either it survives or dies.
Are you familiar with transposons and horizontal gene transfer and as gene activation?
Before.
Yes, gene activation. That's basically saying that a lot of these adaptations are actually already presupposed within the genetic material itself.
But what makes the genes turn off?
It's environmental triggers, because then therefore it shows that the DNA itself is being at least aware from I would say yes, you can say a primitive level of not in our own level, but a primitive level that there isn't a compilation of particular information being embedded into the sequence itself. For example,
but now you keep saying the word information. I mean, it just makes it sound pointless.
It's because there is a sender and a receiver. See, what makes information different from a pattern? Like, words on a page.
Wait. Implies someone actually can understand this information.
What? I'm
right?
sorry. Repeat.
Like this thing you're saying, information. Like for example, writing on a page. It only understands to us because we're the ones who actually give it. It has information to us. If we were gone, it has no information whatsoever. It's pointless.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
exactly does DNA then mean? Because technically, the information on DNA is not just dependent on us, dependent on something that can actually understand it.
Okay, let me explain it. Okay, see, when I took the glucose model, there's something called a camp that's actually in charge of switching between the lac operand, which is basically and there's an inhibitor blocker that's on that particular sequence.
I think we should stop this because I think Froggy should go to.
Okay.
I think we went too much on this.